For September the 16th, 2016, we talk about Justin Roiland's new VR game, Rocket League Rumble, and we ask you about your favorite video game pack-ins. Welcome to level 166. My name is Kole Ross.
I'm Jala.
I'm Ben Merkel.
And you're listening to The Level. It's a podcast for people who love video games. That's right. We are rocking it three style. I about said freestyle, and that would be a different thing. We're rocking it three style this week as David is back to his busy San Francisco ways, and Dennis is out traveling for business. But I'm so happy to have you here, Ben and Jala.
Yay!
I have no business ways. We're San Francisco ways.
Yeah. That's good. Mm-hmm. We're all just we're all just here. We're all home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is casual, if you will.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I'm sitting here in a polo shirt. Not really. I'm sitting here in a t-shirt because I'm always sitting here in a t-shirt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think of any big stuff. It's we're kind of in this lull before the storm because we have PRGE coming up, and then we also have Duckstream coming up here as well. And so we're going to be working stuff out for that, but like that is kind of consuming my mind, both of those right now.
Did you hear that The Last Guardian got delayed like a month or so?
Yeah, I did.
That's not my brief. I just want. Yeah.
No, and I think that's like okay. So I should have led with that. Ben, are you okay, or is this just kind of like
No.
you know?
I'm totally okay. I have low expectations, so we're good here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's better that they're trying to work out the bugs before the thing comes out. We've had those discussions.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We like the games to work when they come out.
True. Yeah, this is weird. Like, I remember last year, September was such a busy month for releases. There was, there were two of them. One of them was Metal Gear Solid 5, and that was my life. For a good solid while, but for this, most everything is coming out in November now. It feels like,
yeah,
yeah.
Final Fantasy,
Dishonored, Last Guardian was pushed back to December. Pokemon's coming out in November, like I think the same day as Dishonored or right around there anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so like again, here's this crazy little lull. But
it'll be a nice Christmas season for all the kids out there and adults.
Yeah, for all the kids who want to play Dishonored. Mommy, can I have a Corvo mask? I'm sorry, son. We don't want you to scare your sister with your Corvo mask. No, a Cuervo mask.
I've only played 2 levels, so the only thing I can make a joke on is like you get a brand with the DLC or something like that. I don't know.
I forget. I don't know.
A toy whale ship.
Yeah. Little whale oil lantern. That is a tricky thing to say. Yeah, it's so bizarre. Like the only thing I can think to talk about, like network wise, is the like Patreon changed the way they let you serve up premium content, but that doesn't affect this show so much. It just makes my life significantly easier on the days when I put out the premium shows.
Yay!
Yeah, so
I also want to draw attention to, I checked out the Patreon page a couple weeks ago to look at all the goals because I hadn't read through all the goals before, but I really like the top goal. If it gets reached, you and Gary quit your jobs to do podcasting full time.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean we had to set a number somewhere, and we've been kind of petering out just short of our second major goal here. I want that X-Men show to be made. God damn it!
I know, right? Like yeah. I went out and I got the DVDs of the old show as a result of listening to just like the little teaser they did. Mm-hmm. So I was like, oh yeah, that thing. I remember that thing.
Yeah, I want Jeremy on the network.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, well.
Jeremy's absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
And so is Autumn, his wife.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So fun to hang out with them out there in Texas.
They're so neato. Yeah. I like them.
Oh, so that's all the stuff. Anybody? I don't have any anecdotes, and so it's hard for me to like push for anecdotes.
I have all kinds of stuff going on.
Yeah. Well, you do. You set a personal best for your 5K, right?
I did that this morning, and I ran a half marathon virtual race on Saturday, and I won tickets to a Richard Cheese in the Lounge Machine show, and I went to that. And I also went to Bollywood Blast Kaleidoscope, which was a free show given that's paid by the city that's over in the outdoor theater here in our biggest park. And so I've been to some shows. I've been doing a lot of running. And by the way, when I did that half marathon on like 2.5 hours of sleep. So I was like running for longer than I had slept.
Jeez, that's
and
nuts.
then I turned around and then I went to like a melt method class, which is a kind of relaxation technique using foam rollers and squishy balls and stuff like that.
I was going to suggest some kind of grilled cheese exercise.
A grilled cheese would have been good to eat at that time because I was so hungry. But anyway, and then I did that, and then I turned around and played games with people, and I didn't go to sleep until like way late at night. I didn't even take a nap or anything. I was just like up and going all day after not having any sleep and running. Yeah, like I'm like, well,
How did your body not like riot against you?
I don't know, but I was okay. And then
my knees are bending backwards now. I don't know what's going on.
So that's my life. I've been all over the board doing stuff and watching shows. It was so cool to go to the Bollywood show, though. Oh man, that was great. If you ever have a chance to see like a live Bollywood production, go see it. It's freaking cool.
I'm sure it's crazy in a good way. Like, holy shit, so much stuff going on.
I posted some videos and photos on my Facebook account, and I think I put a few of them on my Instagram. But like, if you're not friends with me on Facebook, totally hit me up and then like go look in the album. It's awesome.
Hey Jala, cool, hey Jala, what's your Instagram?
Jala-chan.
Okay. Okay.
In all the places.
Okay. All right. No,
what's my Facebook? It's Jala-chan. What's my Twitter? Jala-chan.
So
what's my Steam? Okay.
In contrast to that, I'm staring at September 30th on my calendar like I'm looking down the barrel of a gun because I'm driving over to Huntington for the My Brother and Me show, and that is going to be some of the most socializing I've done in 2 months since Austin, and so
that's awesome.
Yeah,
you're going to be on the show?
Oh no, I'm not going to be on the show. I'm going to be attending the show.
Oh, okay.
Cool. Right. Yeah, no. I may submit a question.
Out.
No, I don't want anybody to be misled about that. No, I'm just like, that's 3 hours away. But also, oh man, I'm shuffling things around the calendar because I'm already anxious about it. So, bleh.
It will be okay, Cole.
I know, it'll be great. It's going to be a good time. Everything's going to be fine.
Huntington's actually pretty cool. I know we need to get into the show proper, but Huntington's actually kind of cool city. They got some cool stuff going on. It's just in a weird location. But
yeah. I'm going to be staying downtown. I'm only going to be there for the one night just because of money reasons. But
gotcha.
Yeah. It'll be a good time. I think there are a couple of Duckfeed people who have considered going to that, like listeners and stuff, but I don't know if they pulled the trigger. But
okay.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I think that we should get into the show proper. We've got the usual kind of thing for you. We're rocking it 3 style, so we got the 3 sections. We have the 3 sections anyway, no matter what. But the brief, the multiplayer, and the grind, and we're going to get started with the brief, where we talk about things that are happening in the world of video games around us. Let's see here. I'm going to get started with one because I think this is the most serious business of them. And I want to save dessert for later. Yeah. So there's been a little bit of a rocky relationship between Valve / Steam and pretty much anybody who can give out keys for games, right? There's a whole gray market of keys that are just kind of semi-legally obtained and then sold for way less, kind of getting around Valve's hold on that particular market. And the new thing that they have been fighting against for a while, and they are now putting their foot down on, is kind of this relationship between keys that are given away for free and reviews. Okay. So the practice that Valve was noticing was that publishers, especially of smaller games, mostly with stuff that was like crowdfunded or, otherwise, these developers would be giving out free or discounted versions of their keys, with the implied kind of exchange being, hey, we're gonna give you a free copy of this game, and if you get the time, wink wink, can you give us a good review? Okay. And so what Valve ended up noticing was just a bunch of like low quality and kind of like let's just say like repetitive reviews or kind of like boilerplate kind of things. And so these companies would be kind of like using these keys as their marketing dollars, trying to juice Steam's algorithm by getting reviews in the docket that would kind of like bubble it up in the quality rating. Okay.
Sure.
And so what Valve has done, it's kind of like a scorched earth approach, is anybody who has gotten a copy of the game outside of the kind of like Steam ecosystem, right? Kind of gone in and said, hey, here's this key to redeem on Steam. People are still going to be able to play that game there. But when it comes time to actually write a review for that, only the people who bought the game through Steam will have their kind of scores and reviews be entered for the algorithm. That kind of like shows you the very positive or mostly positive, et cetera, et cetera. Meanwhile, people who got keys, their reviews will still be published. They just won't be kind of like counted for the aggregate. So this will, effectively end that practice of exchanging keys for reviews, but also like people who buy stuff from the Humble store will not be able to review the game in a way that moves the needle for the actual aggregation.
That's kind of weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's I wonder if they could track like where the key comes from, if it's supplied by like a third party like Humble Bundle, or if it can only come from like the game developer,
I have no idea. I don't know.
But that said, I don't think I've written a single game review, so I don't think it's a huge loss for me either way.
Right. And so this is one of the few ways that Valve is kind of like attempting to take control of their system. It seems like, but this also has like a big effect because, the algorithm and this, like the way that they have arranged the storefront is only as useful as like the data that's fed into it, know?
Yeah. And I'm curious to know like how much of an effect like giving away free keys like that could actually have on a game, because like, at a certain point, you can't give free games to everyone. So like eventually the quality will be known by, like the people who are actually buying and paying for it anyway.
Yeah. The word's going to get out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know. Jala, you do all of your gaming, or if not all, most on Steam. Do you pay attention to like the little bug or the dingus that says like, hey, X number of reviews, mostly positive, X number of reviews, middling kind of stuff? Like, does that factor into your attention at all?
I look at it, but I actually don't pay attention to that particular thing. What I usually do is I'll glance at that and scroll down and then look through all the reviews and like see what sounds legit to me. And then, if I'm still not sure about it, then I will also go and like Google it and see what other reviews there are out there, or ask people about it in the Slack or whatever. Or just arbitrarily decide I'm going to play it anyway and then say, hey, this game is actually really cool, such as with Abyss Odyssey, which has mixed reviews on Steam, but I really like. So, like it's not even really much of a guideline. It's just another piece of information that I look at when I'm looking at the screen, but it doesn't really bear that much weight on what I decide to do personally. So...
Yeah, I'm really curious about how they actually sort these, because they have like recently posted most helpful. I'm looking at a review for a game that I know, The Silent Age, and all of the top ones are, incredibly negative and actually kind of seem to be not helpful, I guess is what I would say. I don't know. It's it's kind of weird, but you run into that with anything. Like, I think that by and large, a huge quadrant of Steam reviews are actually like used as kind of abuse against the thing itself. But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting, and I think as goes Steam, so goes a bunch of other stuff. A couple years later, so. Strange.
I wonder if part of their algorithm involves like bumping up games that Valve releases too, because like a lot of the highest rated games are like Portal 2 and Half-Life 2. Granted, they're good games, but yeah.
You have to wonder which one's correlation, which one's causation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jala, tell me about this Pokemon anime.
So, the Pokemon Company is releasing a new series of animated shorts that are going to air on their YouTube channel throughout the end of the year, up, I think, through December 23rd, highlighting classic moments from the 20 years of Pokemon games that have been out. I didn't know that there was actually, because I only kind of pay attention to any one particular topic off and on. So like I did not know that there was a series called Pokemon Origins which went through the entirety of Red and Blue, but that was a thing apparently. This new thing, which what is it called? I forget the name of it.
Pokemon Generations.
Generations, yes. Yeah. Pokemon Generations. Pokemon Generations is the first one that will have the other generations. That's why it's called Pokemon Generations. Amazing how that works. All right. Anyway, each of the episodes are supposed to be about 3 to 5 minutes long. What they say, at least according to this article, is that they are supposed to take place with the point of view of characters whose stories have not been told before. They talk about Blue's defeat of the Elite Four before Red shows up to dethrone him. So that's a thing, and they're going to be showing on the Pokemon Company's YouTube. So
strike while that iron hot in between Pokemon Go and Sun and Moon.
Some of those Pokemon in Sun and Moon are so weird.
Yep.
Oh my god, they're so weird.
It's kind of crazy because I don't like the weird designs in, especially say the last ones I paid attention to, like Ruby and Sapphire and Pearl and Diamond specifically. Really turned me off. Like they were bad weird. These new ones are like kind of scary weird. I kind of dig it.
Is there an example that someone could look up, like myself?
I don't
go ahead, Jala.
remember the name of it, but there's this sandcastle ghost thing, and I'm like, what in the hell? Like I would look through a video. Somebody had posted a video of some of the evolutions, like some of the Pokemon with their evolutions, and I can't remember the name of it for the life of me. I bet it's something really obvious that I just don't know.
Yeah.
Someone is beating their steering wheel right now.
I'll throw this one to you, Ben. There's a Pokemon called Mimikyu, just a Mimikyu, which is a ghost type Pokemon. It's ghost and fairy. And it is a cute little ghost that desperately wants to be loved. So it has disguised itself as kind of like a hasty, very sloppy Pikachu. So like the bottom part of his body is like a little Pac-Man ghost kind of thing with these cute little eyes. And the top part is like a Pikachu head, but the ears are all kind of crumpled. And the eyes, mouth, and cheeks are all scribbled on like marker.
Okay.
And I found the Pokemon I was thinking about, and I put it in the Slack.
Sandygast and Palo-Sand?
Yeah. And it has a shovel in its head.
Please, Jala, that's his third arm. Come on.
Right.
It's not polite to stare, okay? Pokemon get self-conscious too.
I guess that's like a weapon against other type of the same Pokemon.
He can use it to hastily build himself a shelter or disguise. Yeah, I'm pretty excited for Sun and Moon. If I'm being honest.
Cool.
Man, so much shit coming out for the 3DS. It's really great.
Yay.
Yeah. So yeah, this is kind of cool. 3 to 5 minutes is definitely it feels exactly right.
Yes. And the thing is usually you're pushing it if you try to get me to watch anything over 10 minutes. So 3 to 5 minutes is an acceptable range for me.
Nice. And then let's see here. Ben, tell me this story about Rick and Morty.
Yeah, so I don't know if we've covered this yet before, but I know one of the creators of Rick and Morty, Justin Roiland.
Yeah, he's the voice of the 1 and 2 of them. Also the voice of Lemon Grab. Yeah,
which has a long history of being referenced on the show, I feel like. But he stated that he's going to make a VR game, and initially I'm not sure what details he mentioned about it. He just said that he was working on a VR game, but it's come to light that he's releasing it with one of the creators of the Stanley Parable, William P. Ugh. I don't know how to pronounce it.
William Pugh, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, he's the one who did Dr. Langaskov, kind of like offshoot, whereas the other guy went on to do the Beginner's Guide.
Yeah.
Pew is kind of the humor and meta stuff side of the equation, whereas Beginner's Guide guy is kind of more the emotion and heart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so they announced today, I believe, that they're going to release it sometime this month. So it will be coming out this month. They also released a trailer for the game, which just features like the voice of Justin Roiland like yelling at you or talking to you as if it's like Rick and Morty. But it's fantastic if you love that show.
It's like the commercials, like when they do the commercial episodes.
Yeah, exactly.
You piece of shit. Yeah.
It also gets really dark and weird in the trailer as well, and that's pretty great. So that seems cool. That's like one of the bigger arguments for getting a VR system that I've seen lately. So
yeah. The story behind this is pretty funny because he so Justin Roiland had been trying to do this for like 2-3 years or something like that. Like he talked to a bunch of folks, like basically saying like, I need somebody who knows VR because I have ideas. And then he went to Twitter and was like, hey, does anybody from Respawn like Rick and Morty? And then Pew, he wrote him and said, hey, I'm from Respawn and I promise I'm a fan. But it turns out Pew is not from Respawn.
And even so, Justin was at Respawn, I believe, the company, when he tweeted that because he wanted someone to give him a tour of the building. And then after they started talking, Pew realized that he had lied to him and was in a different country than where Respawn Entertainment was. So he tried to tweet someone else at Respawn to try and get them to give him a tour. But yeah, that's how they hooked up. So yeah.
Yeah. It's really cool. I hope that, who knows how important the VR-ness of that is. Even if it's just a stripped down version, I would very much like to experience that because Justin Roiland is great.
Mm-hmm. And the only thing that I have been stuck on during this entire discussion of this has been the fact that you separated out the people from the Stanley Parable into the guy who does the funny stuff and then the guy who has heart. And I'm just thinking of Captain Planet. And that's where my mind went.
Yeah, it's just by playing both of those, it's very apparent which one of those guys was responsible for the parts of the Stanley Parable that did what to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I knew what you mean.
Cool,
but
cool.
Like my mind just like wandered off in a direction as it does whenever there's like a trigger word, and then just bam, I'm off somewhere else entirely.
So anytime somebody says heart, you think of Mati?
Not necessarily in this particular case. Other times you said heart just now, and I thought of Care Bears because I was the level Care Bear because of the placement of the shirt of the logo. So it changes.
I will admit, if somebody just yells heart by itself, I will think of Captain Planet.
Yeah. Well,
right.
But that's the problem. You can't get the chain started because heart is the one at the end. Like he just kind of like insinuated himself. He made a ring out of bubble gum and tinfoil, and he was like, I'm going to be in this too. And like, oh, we don't have the heart. Ugh. Man, damn it! He's already in here. We don't have the heart to tell him no.
Multiplayer.
Now it is time for the multiplayer, where we ask you a question and you answer it. Jala, what is the question that Ragavan asked us to ask?
He asked us to ask, what gestures have game developers made, or unique items or additions have they released to make you feel special as a player purchasing their game? And before we start, I just have to comment that I made the picture into BioShock as a reference to your tipless daddy, Kole.
I'm sensitive about my tipless daddy. Come on. The tipless daddy is still on the shelf.
Woo! As it should be.
What does it mean?
Refer back to level titles from last year?
Episode 99. So a little bit over. Yeah. So let's see here. Ragavan himself says, personally, I found the little letter in the Witcher 3 game box from CDPR, CD Projekt Red, to be a very nice gesture. One that was above and beyond called for, made me feel nice and wanted me to support them on all their future endeavors. It's a nice little note.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump in and say that that's gonna be mine as well, because I was so humbled by like everything they included in the game. Like they had the game soundtrack, they had stickers, and they had like a nice little like love note to you, and it's like, oh, thank you.
Yeah, no, I feel like they did that very well. It was very classy. God, I
can't
can't say.
To top it off, they had an amazing game bundled with it. So
it's kind of like, hey, thank you, A, for your support and for giving us this money. We can't ignore that part of it. But, if you've been along for the ride, you've made this cool thing possible. So, yeah.
I will also say that that listener Steven said the same thing. He stole mine. Such a great move on their part. So
nice.
He was the one who made the question. He can steal all he wants.
Yeah, no, he had that in mind. Yeah, we're going to give that to him. We're going to give him primacy.
Right.
Let's see here. Ben, what does Roop say?
Roop says all the point-and-click games had great leaflets and manuals. Usually those address gamers directly through the voice of the main character or the writer.
Yeah.
What is it? We just did. Oh gosh, I forget the name of it. Starflight for Watch Out for Fireballs, or I guess just did by the time this episode came out, and like that has like a whole like 2 whole sci-fi stories written inside of it. Like
cool.
It is entirely flavor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Jala, what does Sam say?
Sam says, back before pre-orders were a common thing, I got a form in the mail from Cyan letting me pre-order the special edition of Riven because I actually sent in the registration form that came with Myst. The special edition was just a different box and a case with duplicates of the creator's autographs, but it was the thought that counted.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that was like way back in the day when nobody made special anything. So like,
and if anybody would have done it, it would have been Cyan. Yeah.
I don't think I mentioned this when I talked about Abduction, but there's a lot of like backer specific items in the game for some reason where if like you look at the item, it says backer special item only. I have no idea what it means.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I wonder how that will age.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Somewhat of a time capsule. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's why people do it. They want to have their name in there. It's just weird. It'll be weird in 10 years to look back at this kind of like age of this amazing stuff that kind of came with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jala, what does Steven say?
Didn't I just say Sam's?
That's true.
Oh, you did. I'm sorry. I
can say Stevens too. I mean, that's fine.
Just because I run a half marathon, Cole, doesn't mean she's a marathon reading.
Sorry. No, I was. Yeah.
That's fine.
I lost
I'll
track.
read it.
No, I'll do it. Jala, I'll
it.
do it. It's fine. Steven says, a lot of games have started doing this with their special editions, but From's art books for the Soulsborne series have been a reason for me to pre-order physical copies of each of these games. Some of the visuals are really enjoyable to take in from a nicely laid out book on the weekend with a coffee in hand. Yeah. Last one of those that I got was the Dark Souls 2 Collector's Edition. Wow, that's kind of weird. That's so many games ago now. Yeah, I have a whole bunch of those art books. The weirdest one I have is the Catherine one, and the soundtrack to that, which is just arrangements of like classical kind of music. It's a very strange overall package with that. It's a very strange game though.
Can I do a sidebar? Full disclosure, I creeped on your Steam account and saw that Dark Souls 2 is the longest amount of time you've spent on a single game in your Steam account.
Oh yeah?
Yep.
That makes sense.
Yep.
Makes perfect sense. Ben, what does David say?
David said, the devs on Square's new mobile game, Mobius Final Fantasy, have been in constant contact with the players for the month or so the game has been out. They've been extremely transparent in their decision-making and have even changed a few things when they have proven unpopular. It's the first time I've felt like a free-to-play game really cared about the players.
Very cool.
I need to make another attempt to get back into Mobius. It doesn't put a very good foot forward, and maybe that has changed since then.
Well, according to what he's saying, it at least for him did.
Yeah.
Did change.
I also like that.
Did become good.
Sorry, but
do it.
I also like that Mobius is very close to the word mobile, which is what it's designed for. So.
Oh yeah, Final Fantasy Mobi, us, Mobi. Huh, that is confusing.
Mobile us. Yeah.
Mobile us. Let's see here. That was you, Ben.
That's me
Jala.
now.
Yeah, Jala. What does Chase say?
Chase says the special edition of the Elder Scrolls Oblivion came with an in-world coin and book. This was in the early days of special editions, and it was clear that they went all out for it to make sure it had the best bang for its buck. Both objects were incredibly well made, and 10 years later, I still have both.
Yeah. No, I still have my septum. By which I mean that coin that came with Oblivion, and that is actually sitting right next to the platinum chip from the Fallout New Vegas
nice.
collector's edition. That a listener sent me. I think it was Brian Wade, but I'm so sorry if it wasn't. I forget who. But yeah, I love me a coin from In a World.
Yay.
Yeah. Ollie writes, my favorite game of all time is Sensible Soccer. To celebrate its 10-year anniversary, they released the only gaming t-shirt I felt that I needed. And needed is all in caps there. This is it. And I moved mountains to get an official one and not one of the knockoffs. That's pretty good. On the back, it says Sensible, as though that is the character's name. Has 92 written on it, which I assume is the release date for Sensible Soccer. And then on the front, it actually has like the sprites arranged as though somebody is getting ready to like kick against a defensive line.
Yeah, it's pretty cute.
It's good. Yeah, it doesn't immediately read as a video game shirt. It reads as a soccer shirt. So that's great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. It achieves its goal.
Yeah. I can go for that. Let's see here. Nick writes, Star Trek Judgment writes, the game that helped me connect with my grandfather. They released a commemorative edition that I received for Christmas from my grandparents when I was about 10. This was back in the big box era, but this box was huge. It contained a Cloisonne pen. I think that sounds right. A Cloisonne pen representing one of the missions of the game, which I still have. One of those CD-ROM era interactive interviews with Gene Roddenberry and Leonard Nimoy. And the coolest of all, a VHF with the episode City on the Edge of Forever. I was never into Star Trek before this, being young and a Doom kid. But between the great game, Judgment Rights was, if I recall, it had the original cast of voice actors, and the inclusion of an excellent episode, I was hooked for good. I started to watch Star Trek with my grandfather, and from that day forward, and it is something that we always bonded over before he passed a few years back. Sorry, I tripped over your stuff there, Nick.
That's also, you read 2 in a row. You just want to be all up in there. Anyway, I've never heard of this game, but yeah, like Star Trek is a thing that me and my dad always watched. And so it's kind of like something that's been in my life too since I was little and just related to my family. So yeah. That's cool.
This sounds like it was specifically designed to be a missile to get somebody who likes PC games into Star Trek.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like, because given all the stuff he's talking about, I mean, like, I didn't play PC games at that time, so I'd never heard of this game, but that sounds really cool.
Yeah.
So,
Ben, what does Jeffrey say?
Jala says, when I discovered a number of my Steam purchases included soundtracks, I didn't realize that were included. I was really happy. Unnecessary, but appreciated.
Yeah. I'm going to blow your mind, Geolog. Go and check your Humble purchases, because most everything you buy there comes with a soundtrack as well. Jala, what does Mikhail say?
Mikhail says, the most meaningful gestures for me have been small interactions with developers or creators where some sense of them having helped me meet myself in their work is communicated. Sitting with Proteus for a couple of hours really helped me after a rough week, so it meant a lot when David Kanga, or Kanga, however that's pronounced, who must have been monitoring Twitter for mention of Proteus, tweeted at me something simple like, I hope you feel better. Something similar happened with Jessica Curry when the Dear Esther score was working on my insides, unwinding the knots in my stomach. I didn't need those interactions to feel like something intensely intimate had happened. And it's not like I was inviting them into the experiences, but those exchanges were nice punctuations of my time with their work.
Oh, that's really nice.
That is really nice.
Yeah.
And I'll just mention, I'll break here and tell you mine, because it's kind of related a little bit to that. Specifically, mine is about working designs games. Back in the days before anybody made special editions, in the time of Sega CD, where I was like the only person who had one, I got Lunar and I got Lunar 2, and they had like Lunar 2 had this big box that had all this extra stuff. It had a CD soundtrack, and it had a cloth map, and it had Lucia's pendant, and like a bunch of little pop-up standee things, and a whole bunch of other mess, a full color hardcover, faux leather looking, instruction manual, and all different kinds of stuff going on, to the point that it made me actually follow a game publisher for the first time. Like, I had faith in Working Design's quality because of how much effort they put into their releases when they release their games. And how this ties in with what Mikhail's saying is that many years after this, I was perusing around on eBay, and I was looking for something related to Lunar, just because every once in a while I will, just to see if something random from Japan that I never got happens to show up. And I happened to come across some, Working Design stuff. It turns out that Victor Ireland, the head of Working Designs, was selling a bunch of the stuff he had in his closet because, of course, like that publishing, venture disbanded at some point. And he's still in game publishing at this point, or was last I knew, but, he'd gone off somewhere else. But anyway, when I realized it was actually him, and I was, just like messaging him a little bit, he just stopped and chatted with me a little bit on eBay, like on eBay messages about stuff. And I just took a minute. I'm like, no, like the games, like, the Lunar games are really close to my heart because they came at a time when I really needed the kind of determination and uplifting messages and whatever that come with, standard RPGs, JRPGs of the time, but like, more so with the voice acting and all the other stuff, like the animation and stuff that went on in those games. It brought those games a little bit closer to my heart, if you will, than just one where I had to read text on the screen, Yeah. And anyway, it just made a big impact on my life. And so I was talking to him, and I got, even years after the fact, when he's not going to gain anything from me anymore, he still took the time to talk to me and do whatever. And so even now, even though, it's long gone, I still love Working Designs.
Yeah.
So.
Man, that manual and everything that came packaged with Lunar Silver Star Story, whatever the first one is. Like, that was one of the first times that, like, the overall, the game and then everything that surrounded it felt like somebody was showing me something they thought was really, really cool. Like, there was definitely like a word from the translators inside that manual that described the process that they went through, not just to get this to me in a good way, but also to like bring it to the PS1 and like explained all the stuff that came along with it. Like, that was, I can't speak to everything they did because that's the only game of theirs that I own. But like, yeah, I mean, the personal side of that aside, which that's amazing that he took the time and did that. Everything they did just kind of like showed this level of care.
Oh, and then too, in Lunar 2, at the very, very end, there's an Easter egg where you could listen to the outtakes from all of the American voice actors. And so that was really hilarious because you just finished, playing this game. And at least for me, I was like, oh, like really, really touched and whatever. And then like, I'm watching the credits and listening to the music, and all of a sudden I hear the voices and I'm like, oh my God, this is great. I just died laughing. It was wonderful. Nice. It was the best thing ever. So.
My rights. Ultima Games have always had top-notch pack-ins with cloth maps, a moonstone, and once a sextant. My favorite was Ultima 4 of all of them, even though it might not be the best of the pack-ins that they did. It came with the usual cloth map and instructions, but it also came with actual prints of the two books referenced frequently in the game. They took the time to create a fake history book and a fake spell book and made leather-bound versions. Yeah, that's badass.
Yep.
Yep, way into it. Way into it. Yep. I don't know if I have anything to add, but way into it. Ben, what does Graham say?
Graham says, last year, Environmental Station Alpha was released, a retro-style Metroidvania. It was one of my favorite games of that year, up there with Undertale and Bloodborne. I'm very happy that the developer is streaming the development of its sequel on his Twitch channel. Watching the sequel being created is something special and an experience I get nowhere else.
Yeah.
I would also like to add on that watching the creator of The Witness, and I forgot his name off the top of my
Jonathan
head.
Blow.
Jonathan Blow. Create his programming language on the side. Like he Twitch streams that as well, and that's also like a really cool thing to watch. So
that shows a tremendous amount of courage to stream the creation process of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I would not want anybody to see that.
Yeah.
Huh. Let's see, Jala, what does Michael say?
Michael says, when a game company does an HD remake of an old favorite, when studios bring a classic forward into the current generation, it always feels like a love letter to my heart. Here's to you, BioShock Collection.
Does Michael say that having played the BioShock Collection? Is that out? I guess that is my question. Is that a thing that is out and exists?
I don't know.
Huh.
I think
I've only played the first. I've only played the first BioShock. I would not know.
There's definitely a collection that has 1 and 2, I believe.
Yeah.
But I think the one that has all 3 is still coming out, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. Like the HD update kind of thing. It's weird to think that game is almost a decade old. But you feel it when you play it, am I right? Let's see here. Greg writes, the feelies we used to get in Infocom and Sierra games. I miss those. Also, working designs releases. Preaching to the choir here. Yeah, Infocom, you needed those things. Like going back and looking at that stuff, I really I guess I'm happy that those come with the GOG releases and PDFs. Like GOG does a good job with that stuff in general, even if their like desktop wallpapers aren't that great. If there was something that came with it, they will give it to you. But like those Infocom things, those weren't just niceties. They also weren't just copy protection. They were sometimes fucking mandatory. Yeah. Ben, what does Joseph say?
Joseph says that fully opposable half-size replica of Big Boss's prosthetic arm in the special edition of Metal Gear Solid 5 is constantly flipping me off from across the room. Fitting considering my feelings towards the cut ending and Konami in general.
That's kind of the shitty thing about like special edition stuff, right? Like when I'm looking at a game like Metal Gear Solid 5, I love, I love the series, right? I ended up really, really liking that game. When thinking about buying a collector's edition of that, like somewhat like a small prosthetic arm had no meaning to me. Why would I care about that? And then it turns out that I kind of do, and I wish that I had it. How are you going to know what's significant ahead of time?
That's a good point. It's really tough to tell if the game is going to be a classic or not when you're buying it and not having played it.
Right. Yeah. I guess.
Well, and then
good.
Well, and then too with say for example, Elder Scrolls. Like if I had bought Oblivion when it was actually brand new, which I didn't, but like if I had and I would have gotten the special edition, I would have totally dug the Septum way more than I dug the Skyrim box set that has Alduin the World Eater, which I have on my shelf. But like, like you see so many damn dragons in that game. It's just like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't care about another one.
I don't need to see another dragon.
Yeah, I know. Like I don't need to see this on my shelf. I already see enough of these damn things in the game. It's fine. But like the Septum, that would have been cool. I would have liked that a lot better. So, and there's no way to tell, Yeah. So.
Yep.
Jala, what does Chris say?
Chris says, I love my Fallout 3 lunchbox from the special edition whatever thing. Goes great on my altar of random media things on top of one of my horribly disorganized DVD shelves.
It's a pretty good lunchbox.
Bobblehead's probably a good one too.
Shit, the bobblehead.
Yep.
Man, I want something from inside the game. Like that's what I need. I crave it. It's weird, like just him talking about something being on top of a shelf. This doesn't quite go with it because it's just a physical piece of media that relates to a game. But I'm looking up at my boxed Final Fantasy VII action figures that I got like back a couple years after that game came out. It has Tifa, Barrett, Cloud, and Aerith. And then there's a chocobo, and then I remembered the frog is missing from the set because my grandma likes frogs, and I was like, here, have this for your cottage, and she still has it. Some 20 years later. Yeah.
You know what I was bitter about related to this is that I have some of the Final Fantasy X figures, not all of them. I have Lulu and Kimari and Oron and I believe Tidus. Yep. But like they never made Waka.
Oh man.
Because they wanted to make Bahamut, and like, I know a lot of people don't like Waka, but I was pissed that they just like totally took him out and like didn't even make him. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, Waka's important. He's like the first guy you meet in the new world.
I know.
He's voiced by Bender, for Christ's sake. Come on.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did make him into a figure. They, from one of the awesome Artifacts huge figures, like they didn't make him. They made Bahamut instead, and I'm like, oh, it made me so mad.
That's lame.
Yeah. Anyway, that's tangentially related.
Yeah. Let's round this out here with Paul, who says, it's hard to think of any video game tchotchkes I've gotten too excited about. Maybe I just have enough random crap already. What a developer perhaps could interest me in is access. If someone is able to interact with players on forums, podcasts, etc., and listen to the feedback as a game develops, that's pretty compelling. You'll see this sometimes with smaller indie developers on Kickstarter, and when it works, it definitely makes me more interested in the game than if I had just bought it on Steam or at the store when it came out. For me, Neverending Nightmares was an example where I learned a lot about what the developer was trying to say about mental illness and felt like I had some kind of influence in how the game turned out. Access is the big thing. I mean, access is kind of what we peddle on the network, like that is, when we were talking about, the developers reaching out and saying, hey, thanks for tweeting about the game, or Jala, when you were speaking with Victor Ireland about that stuff, like that is, that is access coming from a different way, but it is still this kind of like closer connection. And so, it is marketing. Like when they're doing that, they're trying to make you more excited and more willing to talk about the thing, but it still feels really good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Man, did I just like come over that as a rain cloud saying something was marketing?
No, it's like in Community when Jeff has to wrap everything up with a message. You're the leader of our group, Kole.
Okay, damn it. Now I have to watch Community again. Why have you done this great thing to me? Because I love that show. Fuck.
2 and 3, just watch those. That's where it peaks.
I know, but there are 6 of them. Let's see here. So, Jala, you gave yours with the working designs. Did you have anything else you wanted to say?
No, I already talked enough about it.
And Ben, I think you already gave yours as well, right? Or did you have another one?
Yeah, I can't think of any like great examples that come to mind. I know there's like most of them I don't take seriously, like the night vision goggles with the Modern Warfare one. I don't know. I can't invest in something like that. That's silly.
How long did you hold on to those? Or did you even get them?
I did not get those. Okay. No.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, it's tough, and that's part of why I like slowly stopped buying collector's editions, and then also stopped buying physical games. Yeah. For me, this is going to go way back, but kind of it's difficult to come across something that somebody hasn't already mentioned, because again, this is kind of a rarity nowadays, at least in terms of physical stuff. But when Final Fantasy IV was called Final Fantasy II here, and it was one of the first RPGs that I ever played on the SNES, and I'm talking like real young, like 7 years old, like second grade. The amazing thing was it didn't just come with a manual; it actually gave you the walkthrough up through the first time you go to the underworld, or up to the first time you go to the underworld, in the box. So when I rented that game, being completely unaware of what an RPG was and kind of being unaware of what that was going to be asking me in terms of like, you're not just going to be able to, you're not just running and run in one direction. Like when you're learning all of that stuff new yourself, having something there telling you like, hey, look for this next thing, was incredibly valuable. I think it was like the Nintendo Power Guide or something that they just kind of like reprinted in that, but like it was just a part of the manual, and it's like, this is going to get you up to speed and get you through this stuff. And it felt like it was custom tailor made for somebody exactly in my position who was new to RPGs on kind of this new system, right, on the SNES, and saying like, we want you to have the best experience possible with this. It felt incredibly thoughtful and considered. in a way that I hadn't seen out of manuals. And trust me, I read plenty of manuals up to that point. Like, manuals were my bedtime stories. So this was something entirely different.
Yeah,
Cool.
That's kind of nice. I feel like Metal Gear always did a good job of like indoctrinating people to the combat system with their guides as well.
Oh shit, the Metal Gear Solid 3 manual showing you like the diagrams and stuff of all the different poses.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was this whole Slack chat about, I miss cloth maps and I miss manuals, you know?
Yeah. I've got the map of the Fallout 3 Capital Wasteland is hanging up on the door in my bedroom, like along with some Ockerville River posters and stuff. It's like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like, I think I got that from the big fuck all strategy guide that they put out for that. Like, I think Prima did. It's like, oh, this is just like, outside of context, this is just a cool map looking thing.
I always had like a high school affinity for the GTA maps that came bundled with the games.
Oh yeah, those are great. Yeah. So thank you everybody for writing in. This is an unsuspectingly fond discussion that we've just had. Like, I've had a very I get some warm fuzzies here. If you want to participate in these going into the future, just like us on Facebook. It is facebook.com/thelevelpodcast. We'd love to have you there. And those go up courtesy of Jala or Dennis on Tuesday afternoons most of the time.
The grind.
Now it is time for The Grind, where we talk about the games that we have been playing over the past period of time or so. Jala, I'm going to have you fire off first because there's some new stuff here that I haven't seen before.
Yeah, I know. I played some games. Yay! Okay, so the first thing I did was, after I was done running my half marathon distance and all that other stuff on Saturday,
Okay,
I then
bragging. Okay.
No. After I did, no. Here. There's a reason for saying this.
Okay.
I sat down and I played Portal 2 with listener Greg, and playing a puzzle game when you're kind of like brain dead because you've been doing a lot of stuff during the day is kind of interesting, because he has never played any of the Portal games and he was interested in doing so because of the WAF episode, and so he bought them and he had them, and when we were talking I was just like, well, let's play it. There's a co-op. Let's totally play it. You don't worry, it's not going to spoil anything. It actually, that's the way I ended up playing Portal as well. Is I hadn't played either Portal game, and then my sister said, let's co-op it. So, I'm like, but I didn't play the first one. She's like, it doesn't matter. And we played the co-op. We finished the co-op, and then I went through and played the actual games themselves, the single player content. So, anyway, we got through about,
Was it like a mental half marathon?
Something like that. Although, like, mostly it was kind of fun for me because, well, of course it was fun for me. But anyway, it was particularly fun for me because Greg was trying to learn about how the game controls and, what the thought process is of the game, because you kind of have to learn how to think in portals. So, I was recalling my first experiences, because when I first started playing it, the person I was playing with had already played it, and it was just like going through and doing whatever, and I'm just like, wait, what's going on? And then eventually I picked up on it, and then I was fine, but like it took a while for that to happen. And Greg was like, no, don't, I'm sorry, I suck at this thing, and I'm like, no, really, it's fine, because I'm smiling because I'm remembering my experiences, Yeah. So that was cool. And so we will be finishing that whenever we can schedule time. We are both busy individuals. So whenever time happens to fall into place perfectly and the stars align, we'll finish.
Well, the good thing is that those chambers are really modular, right? Or the experiences. So it's not like RE6 where it does have chapters, but they like the line between them is really kind of blurred, or something like fuck Guild Wars 2. Forget doing that on like a real provisional. We'll do it when we can find time level.
Yeah, well, and then too, speaking of that, like, because I was playing Portal 2 with Greg, and then just like I had other stuff going for the rest of the weekend, I did not get to finish because Sam and I were going to finish up Chris and Pier's campaign because we only have one more chapter left to go. Mm-hmm. So, we were going to do that and then just, so I don't know, maybe this weekend.
Yeah.
We'll see. So that's my Jala's co-op corner. I also tried to get some more time to play the Lord of the Rings game with Jonathan, but that also did not fall through, or that fell through. That did not end up happening.
Fell through, didn't follow through.
Yeah, there you go. I kind of got jumbled in there. Okay, so the new stuff I've been playing. Okay, first one is called Gemini, A Journey of Two Stars. This is an iOS game, and it's $2.99 on the App Store. It is described as an interactive poem. And I'm like, okay, well, this sounds really indie. So what the hell is this? What the hell is this? So it looked pretty, and I was like, okay, well, it's pretty highly rated. Let me just see what this is about. You play as a binary star. You control one star, and the other one is AI. And the controls are just left and right, and you rotate around your star buddy to move. So like you go left, right, and it's just kind of like swaying back and forth. So it's really, really simple to control. If you stray too far away from your star buddy, you're hit by something or whatever, and you need to return to your star buddy to get energy so you don't fall down, because like you have to continually go up is the gist. And so, there's different levels you have to go through, different scenery, different, transitional phases and everything. And the star buddy will come after you and try to help you if you fall, which is kind of cool. So it's just like a really relaxing game that has very nice music and very nice graphics. I shot some screenshots of it to a couple of listeners who pinged me and were like, hey, what the hell are you playing? And I'm like, here's some screenshots, A lot of the reviews say that it's pretty emotional, but as everybody knows, I'm a heartless table flipping demon, so I felt nothing. Although I did say "aw" at the end.
Okay.
But someone who is more emotional and less cold-hearted and dead inside might find this to be a very moving game.
She described touching the game with forceps and tongs.
It is a nice little game, but it's very simple, very, very simple game. So like it's just something relaxing because I've been very busy, so relaxing is what I'm going for here. So
yeah,
that's one. Any questions about Gemini, A Journey of Two Stars?
No, it looks really pretty, and I think that if this kind of game signals itself so loud and so clear. I say this kind of game just based on the description that you said and what I'm seeing here, that it's like, I don't know how you could walk into this expecting anything other than what it clearly is, which is a pretty AV kind of thing with simple mechanics that is trying to get something across. You'll put in your time with it, feel something, and then be done.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's not a walking simulator, but it's a walking simulator that you're not walking because you don't have legs. So.
Yeah.
It's a fusion simulator. When I hear the premise of this game, I can't help but think of like a sequel to it where it's like the 3-body problem, where it's like a mess and you just can't keep 3 stars together. Just whoa.
That's pretty awesome. So anyway, so that's one thing I played. And it's as you might anticipate, fairly short to go through, and the end. Okay, so the other one I did was The Guest. It is a first-person exploration or a room escape type of game.
Starring Sinbad. No, that's House Guest. Sorry.
All right.
I like room escapes. For a while there, I was playing all the free room escapes that I could find on iOS on my tablet, like when I was eating and shit at night. So, like, I was doing that.
Room escape. Yeah.
Yeah. But, anyway, this one is a short indie game, which is actually the debut project for Team Gotham. It is published by 505 Games. For a debut project, this is very well polished. It has very good lighting, visuals, sound design. It was pretty impressive. Like I didn't realize that it was their first game. Like I probably read that in the description when I bought it and then totally forgot about it and had it installed for a long time and said, what the hell is this game? And clicked on it and then, did my usual. But anyway, it is very, very well polished game. You wake up in a locked, gloomy hotel room and are both trying to get out and figure out why you're imprisoned in the first place. You find out pretty quickly that you're a scientist who has come to the U.S. from overseas for some kind of summit, and that you take pills to stave off hallucinations, but that's all you know. The rest of the plot is very minimal, and it's hinted at via newspaper clippings and other stuff that you come across as you explore and, like the hotel room and as you unlock different rooms. And that minimalism continues all the way through the end of the game. And unfortunately, I can't really say much about that without screwing up the bit of plot that is there. The actual reason that you're locked in the hotel is really wacky. And so although the story is sparse, I was really engaged with it the entire time I was playing it. I had fun in, trying to figure out the puzzles. I enjoyed the music and, the visuals a lot. And then just the little tidbits that they gave me, like especially after all of the just copious amounts of story thrown at me in the game which shall not be named. Like this was nice and just laid back and just didn't give me too much. It was just enough. It was enough for me. And the ending made me feel as though I really wanted a follow-up game that explores what happens next to the character that I play as. It would have to be like a totally different type of game for reasons that are only understandable if you've played it. But it would be really interesting just judging from the little bits of story that you receive, because it could be so cool if it was a series. I would be so excited about it.
You say a totally different type of game. I'm just picturing going from this kind of contemplative first-person room escape to like a 3D fighting game in the vein of Power Stone.
Where you just fight off the hallucinations.
No, not quite like that. But but it was a really fun game, and I honestly think I expected a little bit less from it when I booted it up than what I got. So I was pleasantly surprised that it was a very, very interesting and engaging game. And it's fairly short. Like I think I finished it in a couple of hours. So I mean, like it's not that long. I've seen other people and in reviews and stuff say that they spent like 7 hours on it. So I guess they had some trouble with some of the puzzles or something. But it's pretty good. I rather enjoyed that one. Yeah. So I would recommend that for anybody who likes adventure games or room escapes or anything like that. This is a nice little tidbit to play.
Is this spooky? Because your description of it and kind of the screenshots that I'm seeing, including a lot of like fluorescent writing on the wall that just say "where" over and over again.
It's kind of creepy at points. Like there was a point where I was legit, like I don't usually get scared in video games or anything. Like there are certain games that have managed it at points. But this one, there was a point where I started to get like kind of tense. So, but there was only one time that happened. So I wasn't super freaked out the whole time. So it's not overly scary there, but there are a couple of points where you have hallucinations and things start happening, and that's creepy and freaky. So,
Nice.
Otherwise, it's a good game. So
yeah, I wish listed this. It's they don't make it apparent what kind of system you need to run it on if you have a Mac, but I'm just going to assume.
What's the name of the game again?
The Guest.
Yep. I swear to you, I end up playing these games that have like the simplest, most forgettable titles ever. Some of the other ones I brought up, like I remember when Dennis was talking about playing Night Squad and some of the other stuff. Those were games I had bought for him, and I wasn't on that episode. But Kole, you were just like, those are just the most banal names ever. Like,
of course, right?
Of course, it's because I picked them out, and they're actually pretty good games, but they have boring names.
Yeah. But that's why we have show notes, if people, that's why we repeat the names if we remember to. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that was The Guest and Gemini, A Journey of 2 Stars. And that's it.
Yeah. For PC and for iOS, respectively.
Mm-hmm.
Ben. Oh, go ahead. Yeah. Sorry. No,
you're right. Yeah.
Ben, what have you been playing?
All right. So I got 3. 2 very partially and 1 thoroughly. So I'll start with the partially ones. I picked up Undertale because I was trying to find a game that had been out that was highly rated that I had not played. And that game, so I found that IGN reviews kind of sync up with my opinion of video games, since they gave Witness a 10 out of 10 this year, and they also gave Inside a 10 out of 10 this year.
Okay.
So I was pretty on point with those. And so the last game that they gave it a 10 out of 10 to was Undertale from last year, I believe last year. So I decided to pick that up and give it a go. I only played it for about an hour and a half or so. I kind of got into the main world and kind of met the first real character outside of the Lamb Toriel, I think is their name, something like that.
Yeah, you met Sans and Papyrus out in Snowden.
Exactly. Yeah. I couldn't remember their names for the life of me, even trying to think of it earlier, but they are. That's not to say that they're not memorable characters, because they're very I don't know,
pronounced.
Yes, that's a good way to describe it. Very pronounced characters. So I'm not too far in this game. I've already made a mistake of killing someone that I shouldn't have killed, so I think I might start over and avoid that. But yeah,
it depends. Doing a neutral run is probably your best bet at the start. Okay. If you're looking for advice, I know a lot of people who felt really burned by that person that you killed. Yeah. I can pretty much assure you I know who you killed.
Yeah.
It makes a difference, but it doesn't end up making that much of a difference. Pure pacifist is a really satisfying way to play it, but the neutral run isn't any less valid of a story, I don't think. So it just depends on your, it depends on what you're looking for, I suppose. But all of the major bosses like that are puzzles in their own way. You just have to figure them out. That first boss that we're talking about ends up being just a little bit harder to puzzle out just because of where it's at in the game.
Yes.
And just the fact that it actively denies you the ability to use the menu items that you have previously used to resolve things non-violently.
Correct. Yes.
Right.
And yeah, so I might go back and restart that, but we'll see.
You know what to do. It'll take less time.
Exactly. But then I realized what your Steam picture is now after playing that this week. Because the ghost.
Yeah, Napstabluke. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah. So that was satisfying.
He's great. It's Napstabluke, the depressive music listening ghost.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's great. Yeah. He pops up later too. That's not spoilers because that is welcome news.
And and in the picture he has headphones on, so I assume that would come into play later. Mm-hmm. So yeah. So I've only played the game for a little bit, so I mean I want to play it more. I don't get why it's so highly rated yet, but I assume that is sort of revealed later. So
yeah, it's hard to get that from the opening dungeon. I mean, some people probably did. It's an incredibly difficult game to talk about because there's so much expectation and stuff fraught into it. Not just for spoiler reasons. You can talk about what's cool about the game without alluding to that. It unfurls in a kind of protracted and inconsistent way. And I think they through the course of going through Snowden specifically, you're going to figure out by that point the charm will have either set in or it won't have. So yeah,
I do really like a lot of the writing in the game where it's something like a sock drawer, how scandalous, some of that is very I don't know, very very funny. So
it is.
I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, so that's all I have for that. Again, I don't know when I'm going to jump back into it, but I think I will eventually play through and beat it and do all that. Yeah. The other game that I have partially started is Deus Ex: Mankind Divided.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, a lot of people kind of rated that pretty highly that I've talked to. So, yeah, I thought I would give it a go. I've only played the opening mission of the game, so I haven't dug too deeply into it. The one thing that I noticed is it's mostly first person, or at least the default control is, whenever you do any sort of like crouching maneuver or like then it becomes third person if you're doing like sneaking actions.
It sounds like a human revolution in that way, right?
I thought for some reason Human Revolution was completely third person, but maybe I'm misremembering that. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't interrupt.
No, it's fine. So there's not much to say about that game so far. I mean, it basically, in terms of mechanics, it kind of picks up where Human Revolution left off. I watched, they have provide like a 10-minute video at the beginning of the game if you need a reminder of what happened in Human Revolution. The game's narrative is not really the strong point, because like I rewatched the video and it's like, oh yeah, all that stuff happened.
I was betrayed really that many times. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, that's the weird thing too, is like so I briefly streamed this over the weekend, but I was talking about how there's only like 2 archetypes in the game as far as villains go, where it's like the tanks that you fight during the boss battles that just purely like shoot you and have almost zero personality, or it's like some sort of government bureaucrat who is telling you a certain amount of things but is lying about something and will semi-betrayal you and at some point in the game. So yeah. I don't know. So again, the narrative doesn't really seem to be the strong point of this game, but the mechanics still seem fun, so I'm probably going to continue playing that as well. That's all I have for that game so far.
Yep. I'll be curious what happens when you get into the hub at the Prague, I think it is. And kind of like the branching, kind of go your own way stuff kind of unfurls to see what your opinion of that is. Because it seems like you're kind of shit.
That's what I've heard is like the really fun part of the game is just kind of being in the main hub and just doing all the side missions. So yeah, I look forward to that as well.
Yeah.
All right. Main event of this weekend though was I got to play Rocket League Rumble, the new mode that came out.
Woo!
Pretty awesome. So I was very surprised by it. It's basically on the complete other end of the spectrum of seriousness as like a competitive match of the game would be. So it's like there's 11 different power-ups in the game. All of them are kind of like bonkers, but like just to give you an example of some of them, one of them is like a tornado that will pick up other cars that it's centered around your car. So you drive it around and you can like pick other people up and wreck their day. There's a boxing glove that will punch the ball, and so if you line up the ball between you and the goal, you can just punch it in the goal.
Yeah. That sounds like Zero Gear. Those 2 power-ups you mentioned are in the Indy Kart Racer Zero Gear that I love so much.
Okay. All right, then let's see.
You're telling me things that I like.
So there's another one where it's spikes, where spikes come out of your car, and if the ball lands on you, it sticks to you for a certain amount of time. So then you just drive straight for the goal.
So you don't have to worry about like nuzzling it.
Yeah. And so we've taken to doing Mad Max quotes whenever that happens, where tonight we will ride in Valhalla and just try and spike it into the goal. Yeah. But that's super fun too, because it's also a fun dynamic, even if the opponent gets that, because your goals immediately change to, I need to hit this person and hit the ball to knock it off of him.
Yep.
Because otherwise it's like an easy goal. There's a couple other ones that are good. There's like a plunger and rope where it sticks to the ball and it pulls it towards you. So the idea is you just drive past the ball into your opponent's goal and then trigger it, and they'll just pull it in behind you. Yeah, I don't know. So it's been a lot of fun so far.
Are you playing this with your usual crew?
Yeah. And what's been surprising is like, instead of doing competitive, like usually we just do strictly competitive whenever we play, but now it's like half and half or more that we're playing the Rumble, just because it's fun. Like you don't feel frustrated even if you lose. Like it's fun whether you win or lose.
Right.
So the interesting way that they implemented it is you get these upgrades on a time-based system. So like you'll start the game, it'll be regular Rocket League for the first 10 seconds, and then everyone gets upgrades. And then once you use your upgrade and it's been exhausted, then a timer will restart. And after a certain amount of time, then you'll get another upgrade.
Right.
So that's how they decided to implement the feature. Yeah, so that's been interesting. Another update that they made to the game, they added items that you can get. So typically you can get items either like boost trails or wheels or toppers or antennas. And then with the last update, they implemented a system where you could trade these items in 5-to-1 to get like a more rare item. And they had like a 3-tier system with the last update where it's like basic items, okay items, and then rare items that were like new items that they had added. With the latest update, they added another tier on top of that. So there's another layer on the pyramid pretty much where there might be 4th or 5th layer items. But then the kind of weird thing that they added, I don't know how I feel about it yet, is one of the items that you can get from playing the game is just like a crate, very similar to like Borderlands, where it'll give you a crate. To unlock the crate, you have to purchase keys in the game.
That's straight up like Overwatch or TF2.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, and the keys, if you buy one, it's $1.50. If you buy 5 or any of the options more, it's like $1 per key or whatever. And then you use that to open up the crates to get some sort of item. And they show you a list of what all the items can be, but it's literally a slot machine when you do it. Like as soon as you buy the item, it spins through different items. Yeah. So it feels kind of dirty that it's very much like a slot machine when you're playing it, or like a pay-to-play game, sort of. But at the same time, since I've only spent $20 on this game and I've played it for 300 plus hours, I'm totally okay with giving them $5. You know what I mean?
Then all of a sudden you're on the other side of that equation. Yeah.
Yeah. So I haven't really decided. So I did purchase 5 keys or whatever, and so I've been spending those as I've gotten the items. I haven't really decided like an upper limit to how much I'm willing to spend on this. But I'm kind of torn. You know, it's like on the one hand, I don't want to support that sort of gameplay mechanic, but on the other hand, I do want to give this company more money because I have played this game more than any other game that I've played in the last couple of years. So
yeah, that's a tough position.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. But it's been a really fun update, so I've been really happy with it so far.
Have you gotten anything cool from the keys that you used?
Yeah, I got a boost trail that's called like Polygon Fire, which is kind of an interesting like art style. I don't know, it's like a certain graphic where it's like very cloudy, I guess, if that makes sense. Like low res cloudy. I got a new car type, and then I got a couple new decals. They added animated decals, so like one of them is like snake skin, but then like the colors change, like it's animated. So yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely cool. I guess one of the other things that's nice about it too is it's not completely the money that you pay for keys or whatever. It also goes into a tournament pool for the tournaments that they have for the game.
Regularly. This is straight up Valve is what they're doing.
Okay, yeah. So it's not like a completely selfish thing that they're instituting. So yeah, again, very on the fence about it, but yeah.
I mean, if it's fun to play, which is good.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's a start, you know?
Yeah, I mean, the reason why the other 2 games that I've only spent like an hour on those is because I would go back to play Rocket League very soon after starting the other games.
So can you see this sticking around? Like, is it mostly novelty at this point? Like what's your gut feeling? Like, is there any attraction back to regular, according to Hoyle, Rocket League?
Are you talking about Rocket League as a whole, or are you talking about Rumble as far as...
I'm talking about going from Rumble, back to the original way it was before without kind of these, Smash Brothers, Mario Kart style modifiers.
In fact, I think that's a really apt comparison with Smash Brothers, where it's like the idea of items and non-items. Like, you're basically trading off fun versus skill. And so I think... probably both will be played. Like, I don't think we're going to play one or the other exclusively. Because, I mean, it's fun to just relax and play Rumble, especially, like, if you had a few beers. Like, you don't have to focus on, like, you have to get a goal sort of thing.
Yeah, you have to make your jumps, yeah.
Exactly. You can just relax and use spikes and, yeah, whatever. But it's also fun to also switch back and do competitive, too, because at least with that, like, people can't quit. And, yeah. But... yeah, So it's been a very nice addition though, because before Rumble there wasn't a lot of need to play any of the unranked matches. Like, it didn't really seem that fun because it's possible that people would quit. You don't really get anything for it, and So, yeah.
Huh. Well, that's cool. I didn't realize that was coming out so soon.
Yeah. I knew it was coming out, so I can't.
I suppose. I just wasn't paying attention. Like, that's not saying anything about the game. That's just me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. I might actually have to. I might have to actually give that a try.
It sounds like play with you.
It sounds like a thing that I would probably like.
Yeah.
It's tempting. I'll say that.
Do you own it, Cole?
I have it for PS4.
Okay.
I got it when it was free there. I mean, that's trivial to get it on PC.
Gotcha.
That's
And maybe as a side note, I know Dennis streamed it for the first time this weekend as well.
Oh shit! Really?
And he also has it on PS4. But I got to watch some of that, and that was a lot of fun to watch somebody new playing the game.
to laugh at their rookie mistakes.
Well, I mean, he was playing one-on-one, and so he's playing against someone else who was also learning the game. So I mean, there was a lot of like, oh, you should have done this, this, and this. But I mean, it was still fun to watch.
Was he having a good time? Like, was he laughing at it? Or?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, like, just like the triumphs of like, oh, he made an epic save in this situation. Like, that was huge. Like, it was really cool to watch. So yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Fantastic. Yeah, thanks for sharing.
Yeah, Dennis was streaming that between his dodging away from where I might possibly get at him for his impression.
Well, you gave him internet connection down there in the cistern? That's weird.
Right? It was only my mercy. Okay.
Jala is a generous god. Yeah.
Let's see here. So is that all, Ben? That's all three, right?
Yep.
Okay. I'm ashamed to say that I've not played Abduction. I've been very busy preparing for stuff with network things. I want to dedicate some attention to that, but that is the good thing is I have not any recording coming up this weekend. That's a weird way to say that, but that is kind of ultimately to say I'm going to be playing some Abduction here very shortly. Because
dude, no pressure, man. Don't worry about it.
No, I'm horny for it, man. It's I want it. but you know,
the first time that's been uttered ever. Horny for Abduction.
But no, I just I've wanted this game for a while, and I feel ashamed coming here saying no, I haven't played it yet. What I have been playing, something that's kind of more in line with the time that I'm able to dedicate to stuff, which is Picross 3D Round 2, I believe is the name of the game. This is the Nintendo 3DS game that came out, I think, last week. On the same day, I think, as Phoenix Wright, the Spirit of Justice, which I also got today for playing in bed and whatnot. But no, Picross. This is the kind of second iteration on Picross 3D that I've been waiting for a very long time. Are you both aware of what Picross is?
No, and I tried Googling it and I couldn't find anything.
Okay. So I've talked about it a little bit before. I really enjoy these games and have since the DS version of Picross came out. Picture kind of like a cross between Sudoku and a crossword. Where you have a grid. This is just a 2D Picross, mind you, where you have a grid and there are numbers at the tops and sides of each row and column. Okay, so, grid, numbers at the top, numbers at the side, and those kind of indicate the number of kind of squares in that grid that you fill out kind of in a row. So if like there is a 5x5 grid and there is a 2-2 in one row, that like there are going to be two consecutive dots, a space, and then two consecutive dots in that row. Okay.
It looks like 3D Minesweeper a little bit.
Yeah, it kind of goes like that. The 2D version is easier to wrap your head around because that is, the idea is it's a combination of these kind of like, chore-like logic puzzles. Like, I'm not going to come out and say that they are, incredibly challenging affairs because there's only one solution and you kind of get at it by trial and error. It is like a Sudoku in that way, but it's a combination between that kind of logic and also kind of like visual processing kind of stuff. So, as the picture becomes clear, you realize, oh, oh, there's like some symmetry here, so that unlocks some of these things. So you're kind of using your visual intuition alongside the numbers that are, that are set there in order to do this. And they get much more complex. There are some that are like 50 by 50, and you break them up into chunks, and the DS versions of these puzzles are very kind of satisfying. Like they have a very good interface for, going around them, right? Now, the 3D version, the original one came out on the regular DS. This takes that and adds a different axis, okay? So you start out with this cube, and there are numbers along each of the faces of these cubes saying like, hey, there are this many number of like cubes in this, like, a cell in this row, that are, that are filled in. And you have to decide which one of these to like mark as saved and which ones to knock out in order to not just kind of like create this picture that is described by the numbers, but instead cut away at this kind of like solid block in the pattern that the numbers describe to create this sculpture as it goes along.
Huh.
Okay. And so those get incredibly complicated on the on the 3DS. On the DS version. The 3DS, I haven't gotten to the incredibly complicated ones yet, but they have added another level of kind of complexity to this, and this is getting to the things that are new for this version of the game. You don't just have like, hey, let's save this block and get rid of this block. You have red paint and yellow paint, or sorry, blue paint and yellow paint. Okay, blue indicates, hey, let's save this whole block. Yellow paint indicates, well, this is something that like it's only like a partial block that's going to be here. So picture like if you're doing a sphere in this kind of like 3D Rubik's Cube kind of thing, well, you would only cut off like a certain portion of this one. So you have to mark like which of the blocks are going to be saved entirely and which ones are part of these kind of like non-standard, non-cubic geometries. And so you're left with not just the number of cells in each row or column that you have to like mark out, but it's the number of each color that, depending on the symbol that is drawn around them, either a square or a circle, that are consecutive or non-consecutive. And so it's kind of using that. Again, you start with the same kind of thing, this cube of, this cube that you're supposed to turn into an object. And those numbers describe an increasingly complex kind of thing that you're supposed to, again, like chisel out of it.
And so does this eventually turn into like a shape of some kind, like something recognizable?
Yeah. There's like like at the simplest side, it's like, oh, this is a hatchet or a sword or a frog or a kitty cat, Okay.
Yeah. All right. It looks like there's a penguin on one of the images that I'm seeing. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the kind of thing where you would have to like, I would recommend watching a video of it because it's incredibly satisfying as you do it. And so for as intimidating as that description sounded, this is the gentlest, softest, most like, hey, we're just having fun learning about numbers and shapes kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Like you can choose the background for the game, and I chose one of the ones that's included is like a rough construction paper kind of thing that has a drawing of two ducks on it. And I'm like, okay, yeah, let's do that. But like it's incredibly low pressure. You can choose the difficulty level for any given puzzle as you describe these shapes. Like it is timing you, and it is like catching your mistakes, but like that is from like a ranking perspective. You can just kind of like tap away and figure it out and then come back to it later to like master it.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, what you're left with, again, it's not really, I mean, it's a little bit more challenging than a regular 2D, Picross, but that's because the rules are different and you're thinking in a different kind of mode. However, it's still like an incredibly meditative is probably the wrong word, but like it's a very satisfying thing to pick up and then just kind of like, here's a set of rules, and each and every one of these puzzles is probably going to throw in a couple of curveballs, but it's going to carry me up this difficulty curve to like make cooler and more complex shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It looks fun. If I had a DS, I would play it.
Yeah. What's funny is you can probably, if you do a search for Picross, that'll probably be a tag on on whatever mobile platform you're on, to where you can download like a knockoff Picross kind of game. I think Nintendo owns the copyright to the name Picross. But if you can download one of these, like, you will get a 2D Picross, and most of those, you know, they may have some like free to play kind of crap inside of them, but like it'll give you a good sense of what these are. I really enjoy these puzzles, like in a way that like Sudoku never grabbed me.
Cool.
Gotcha. Yeah, it has the artistic payoff to it. Yeah.
I don't know that I have anything else to add to that. I feel like I very exhaustively explained this technical game.
It looks cool. Yeah.
But that's it.
Okay.
Neat.
Don't want to button it up.
Buttons.
The credit.
Thank you so much for tuning in. This has been episode number 166 of The Level, and we're so happy to have you here. I'm trying to think of any like call to action kind of stuff, and I'm coming up short in terms of things related to the show. Obviously, iTunes ratings and reviews. It's been a little bit since we got one of those, so if you can spare the time, if you're a new listener, that does make a huge difference for us. We really appreciate it when that happens. The Facebook group, which we mentioned earlier, facebook.com/the Level Podcast. Check out our Patreon if you can. And otherwise, like, just come participate, hang out. We really enjoy when people reach out. Like, this is one of the most, it's one of the most fun communities we have for the shows on the network.
Yay.
Yeah. Did I miss anything?
No.
All right. So I've been Kole Ross at Kole Ross on Twitter.
I'm Jala-chan in all the places.
I am Ben Merkel at Merkelizer in some places.
And stick around for some titles. Okay, who's got some for me?
I didn't write anything down this week.
Oh no.
Oh no.
I got 3. I'll start with my least favorite and go to my most favorite.
Okay.
So High School Affinity. It's not that great.
High School Affinity or Infinity?
High School Affinity.
Okay.
Affinity. Mobile Us.
Mobile Us.
and then my favorite is a Heartless Table Flipping Demon.
I like a Heartless Table Flipping Demon. However, we just did table flipping.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I have grilled cheese sorry, it's just grilled cheese exercise. And I felt nothing.
It's pretty apropos of the show.
Yeah. Let's roll with it.
I'm pretty down with I felt nothing.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. I can put that on a t-shirt real easily, so I like it. Yeah.
It just reminds me when we did a Jackbox Party, and then Murph was writing terrible like Raymond Chandler short stories.
A man looks at his family. He feels nothing.
Yep.
The gun weighs heavily in his hand.
Oh man, cool. Well, I'm gonna go to bed.
All right.
Yay!
All right. Well, have a good week, everybody.
You too.
Have a good week.
Bye-bye.
It's good recording with you.
Yeah, good. Yeah. Talk to you later. Bye.
All right. See you guys.
Bye-bye.
See you.